Okay, good morning, everyone. As we continue our unique journey, which means not the one that we had planned, the one with our regular routines, going to school every morning, and for every one of us, your parents and all of us, everything has been disrupted. So it reminds me of that famous posuk that the Baal Shem Tov explains, Ma'ashem itzadei gover keinanu, that God leads the footsteps of a human being, which means we may think that we're in control and we decide where we're going to travel and where we're going to walk and where we're going to traverse. Hashem runs the world. And even though this has always been true, but I think right now, everybody, literally every human being on earth recognizes them, because all our plans, we all had plans. We had Pesach plans, travel plans. As I said, even the regular routines. Hashem is leading our footsteps. So despite the fact that it's a challenging time, and I want to extend a bracha from all of us, any of the learning and speaking today is an honor for refuah shlema, the kreva, a complete and speedy recovery for all those that are Rahman al-Islam in bad situation or suffering. And Hashem should protect us all from even contracting this disease in the first place, this virus, but especially refuah shlema for those that are in dire situation. But at the end of the day, as I said, Hashem controls the world. And if we ever needed a wake-up call, it's very obvious that this is it. So there's a powerful story I want to share that, again, with the Baal Shem Tov, which captures and demonstrates this point in a way that's really very empowering. Very empowering. And the story goes like this. The story was with Eid called Rab Chaim Rappaport. You may have heard it, but still, I think it's worth focusing on. Rab Chaim Rappaport was a chassid and a talmid, a student, and a colleague of the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov once sent him on a shlichus, on a mission, to go somewhere. I'm not going to go through all the details. It's a long, long story. I want to focus on the main point. He came back and he fulfilled his mission accomplished. But the Baal Shem Tov was not satisfied. He wanted to hear from him, from Rab Chaim, how did he travel? How did he get to the destination where he had to fulfill his mission? Okay, it seemed like trivial. Who really cares whether he went this way, went east or west or north or south? But the Baal Shem Tov wants to know, so he shared. He said he traveled. One night he stayed in an inn. Another night there was nowhere to go, so he camped out on the side of the road. And in the morning he woke up. And Baal Shem Tov is looking at him. Yeah, go ahead. I woke up. I washed my hands. I made I said my brachas, my tefillas, I davened. And then I sat down to have something to eat and drink. Nearby was a spring of water, a brook, a spring of water. So I went over, I filled up a cup, and I made a bracha, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam, shehakel niyeh b'dvarei. That everything was created with your words. With your word. The Baal Shem Tov heard this, he jumped up with excitement, and he said the following. In Yiddish he said, I'll translate it. He said that this brook of water perhaps was waiting from the beginning of time, from Sheshis Yemei BRHS, for you to come and make a blessing Shehakol niyeh b'dvarei on this water. That's what the Baal Shem Tov said. I always live with this story because I've traveled a lot in my life, speaking in different places. Now, obviously, that's not happening. And I've been to all kinds of interesting places, exotic places. And many times I think, who walked here before me? Was there a chassid ever walked here The Rebbe is a shliach over here. And sometimes you come to a place and you feel like, when you walk in the woods, there are paths that have been tread upon and people have walked already. And then there's a path that nobody has walked on. There's no path altogether. And there's a certain exhilaration to travel on the road not traveled on before by anyone. And the Baal Shem Tov story always comes to mind, thinking that wherever you go, all of existence has been waiting for you to come there to achieve something that nobody could have achieved except you. It's a tremendously empowering statement, or at all times, and including now. Whatever reason Hashem is leading our footsteps, it's led us to our homes, to be more or less quarantined. It's led us to a completely new schedule, or maybe no schedule. All those routines are gone for now. So we can look at it as being disruption. We can look at it as being disturbing, as being even frightening. Or you can see this is where Hashem wants you to be. And this is where BRHS, from the beginning of time, existence is waiting for you to do something that could never have been done except in these circumstances. And that can be even a simple thing like an extra word of love to your parents, to your siblings, to your friends. It could be an extra hug to those that you're allowed to hug, if you're allowed to hug anyone now. The point is that to look at it not as we're victims of circumstances and we're just have to make it through and get through the day. No, we have to look at it. This is where Hashem wants you to be. And He's directed your footsteps, each one of us in our own place, and how we're going to use it to the fullest. This is why we're even coming together here. Last week, we came together. It was part of your, your school schedule. Now this is, I hear, this was initiated by you, and I'm very touched and honored because we're here because we want to be here. Why? I would say because we want to use this time to the fullest. We were all trained. We're all taught. Everything's hashgacha pratis. We're less than 2 weeks from Pesach. So, of course, we have to do what we have to do. But it's a unique time. And how can we come together and strengthen our amunah, our faith, our betachon, our trust? And in general, our attitude should be one of a proactive attitude. Because in life, I can tell you a simple lesson. You're either going to be influenced or you will be the influencer. You hear that? Either you're going to be influenced by others or you're going to influence them. There's no middle ground. And we were trained as Eden Bechlal, Jews Bechlal, and especially Chassidim, Chassidi Chabad, the Rebbe's people, that we have to be the ones that influence. Not in an arrogant way, not in a condescending way, not because we're so brilliant, but because we're here to bring light to the world. And it's interesting, and I can tell you even from my own experiences. When I sit around in my own house now, quarantined, and I don't do anything, so to speak, I just sit around, what's going to happen, and so on, it's very debilitating. It's very demoralizing. When I sit and give a class like I'm doing now, or I write something, or I do the different videos I'm doing, and I'm trying to I feel enriched, because I feel I'm serving and using this time for a good purpose. Each one of you, and I've said this in the last class last week, you have to find, especially things you enjoy. To do something when you're forced to do it is very hard. We all have things we like. We all have things we're passionate about. What you got to do is use your head to think, how can I take my passion and use it in some way now to help another person to be a little kinder, a little gentler? It comes down to that. It's sometimes a simple thing like that. There's a story in Chumash. It's a very moving story. We all know it's a story connected to Yetzias Mitzrayim, to Pesach. We all know that during the time of the Gzeira, Ch'mon al-Islam, when the Jews were in Golus Mitzrayim, so Pari, who was like a Hitler, was bathing in the blood of Jewish children. He loved to torture Jews, and he did so. And the Jews were obviously quite oppressed. But then the news came that Neilad Mashiach Shel Yisrael, that Moshe Rabbeinu was born. And it filled his house with light. So though it would take time, 80 years, till Moshe finally took the Jews out of Mitzrayim, but there was a glimmer of hope. So we all know, how was Moshe born? It actually is a result of the Amunah of Noshim Sitkonius like you. When Pareg made a gzera, he made a decree. Kol haben hayolud, every boy, male boy that will be born, should be thrown into the river Nile. Why? Because his stargazers told him, they told him something. What they tell him? That one day there's going to be a man that's going to rise. His name is going to be Moshe. Well, they didn't know. I don't know if they knew the name. But a man will rise. And this man will liberate the Jewish people. So Pari, in his brilliance, said to himself, you know what? He said to himself, let me kill all the boys and preempt this issue. I'll kill all the boys, and that way this man will never rise. What happened? The men came to the women, as to the Jewish men came to their wives and said, let's not have children. Every boy is going to be killed. And what do you think the women answered? How could we not have children? Hashem promised Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah that we will leave this God-forsaken place. If we don't have children, who's going to leave? We'll die here. The men said, so what are we going to do? The women said, we'll find the Eitzes. And they found Eitzes. Some women went out, the Gemara says, to the fields. They went out to the fields. And they found ways to give birth miraculously. Unfortunately, some children did die. And of course, the most important one was Moshe. What did Yocheved do? She made a little basket, made it waterproof, put it in the river Nile. And the one boy that was necessary, the one that Pari was so concerned about, was born and grew up to be Moshe Rabbeinu. But here's what I wanted to share. There's a posuk in Shmos that says, because Yocheved was concerned about her little baby boy, her little baby son, she would send Miriam, who was a young girl relatively at the time, to go watch this little boy in the basket. So at a distance, she would watch him every day. It seems like a small story, but later, when they traveled in the Midbar, Moshe waited for Miriam because Miriam waited for him. I'm always very touched by this story because there were no cameras, there was no fireworks, no one was getting any Academy Awards for this. Very quiet little moment. A little girl watching her baby brother, who would end up become the Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu, the Goyal Yisrael, the one that was Mekabel Teda Sinai, the great Moshe Rabbeinu. The small acts we do in private, when no one's watching, have the greatest impact on history. And I was thinking about it now. Each of you, your own little place, you may do things no one will even notice, but you notice. And these things pierce the heavens, and they can change destiny. They can change history. So don't underestimate any small act. Just like the drink of water, existence was waiting for him to come, Rab Chaim, to come and make the bracha. When you do an act now, all of history, from the beginning of time, Hashem set it up that you should do that small little act like Miriam did, and you never know what's going to impact that's going to have. And we may be blessed to see the results of our impact, or we may not be blessed. So that's my opening statement about what? That even when the world outside is not in our control, we're not control of the coronavirus, its spread, its impact. You know, we have to do what the doctors tell us, what the rabbis tell us, so we're hopefully all listening meticulously to every instruction. But that doesn't mean we don't have control. It means we don't have control about the circumstances. Just like Rab Chaim didn't have control where he's going to sleep that night. That's where he ended up. But he had control to make the bracha. And just like Miriam had the control to stand and watch over her little baby brother. So we have control over our attitude, absolutely, all the time. And of course, we're human beings. There are going to be times we're going to be bored. We're going to be lonely. We're going to say, when is this thing going to be over? And as I said, we have tzoros. It's not, I'm not minimizing it. But you have to counter that with another voice. And that voice is that Hashem put me here. Hashem leads my footsteps. And one act can change the universe. Even a small little act, even a non-dramatic act that doesn't seem like much. So this is what I wanted to begin and open up with about what we're able to do, even in a time like this, where things may seem outside not control, but we have complete control within in our attitudes. In addition, we can bring light even in the darkest moment, and that's what we should be doing and could be doing, and hopefully we are doing. So, since the session was also meant to be answering questions, I got your questions. I believe I'm speaking to the 9th to 12th grades, am I right? This is a selection of everybody?
Correct.
Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not that it changes, I just wanted to make sure I know. So I'll tell you the truth. I got a bunch of questions. They all seem to be Mashiach related, which is good. But I do have questions that I still have from the last session last week. I never answered. So if we have time, maybe I'll answer, but more importantly, if you have questions that you chat, I'll do those first. So I'll begin with the ones I received by text, and I'll just go in order. So I want to just begin with one thing that was asked last time. Okay, we'll deal with these questions afterwards. I'm just looking at the chat. What I want to do is begin with a small introduction. I was asked last week by you, and as well as last night I did my program, you may be familiar, My Life Chassidus Supply, that was dedicated to the times in which we are in right now. Actually, I encourage you to look at it because it's at chassidussupply.com, because I actually found a very interesting piece from the Arizal, who he talks about epidemics and the spiritual dynamics of it. Quite interesting. I explained it in practical terms. I'm not going to do that now because it's already recorded and you can check it out there. But one of the questions that I keep hearing a lot, and also from you, is this whole connection to the coronavirus and Mashiach. Can we say this is a siman, a sign of Mashiach's coming? So I want to just address that, and then I'll go into more specific questions. And I think there was a question for sure like that. But in general, let me just say this. The Jewish approach is not one of sensationalism, where we look for hints in a medrash, in a Gemara, a gematria. That doesn't mean it's not there. The Torah has everything in it. And the Torah hints to many things. But our approach is Tomim Tiyim Hashem Alekecha. Walk with wholeheartedness, with simplicity with God. Don't look into the future. Don't look into crystal balls. Don't look for because sensationalism does not help us grow. The Torah is always expecting us not to find some miraculous magic pill. It's expecting us to be responsible human beings. And often human beings can have a temptation to say, if I knew my future, someone can tell me what my future is going to be like. Or reincarnation, what type of life what type of body I was in my previous lifetimes. Or other things. The Rebbe once told somebody in a Yechidus, they asked the Rebbe to interpret their dream. The Rebbe smiled and said, first let's figure out what we are doing when we're awake before we get to our dreams. What was the Rebbe saying? We know in the Torah, Yosef interpreted dreams. We know there's the concept of different Torah. You think the Rebbe can't interpret a dream? But the first thing is you have to be a responsible adult when you're awake. And you're running to your dreams. First, be a mensch, be responsible, behave in a solid way. Then, if necessary, we can go to the dream. So it's always careful. We have to be careful not to resort and gravitate to sensationalism, to exotica, to the exotic, to the mysterious. Of course, there are hints, and I'm sure God has a plan. But we have to be able to say it's a mysterious plan. I don't know the answers to everything. Now, at the same time, everything is leading to Mashiach. Good things, and sometimes even negative things. You look in the Psukim in Tanakh, especially in Nevi'im. You look in the Maimoreh Chazal, Gemara, and Medrash. You'll find many statements. It says, close to Yemei Mashiach, there'll be a plague in the world. It says that, and people will die. It also says that before Mashiach comes, there'll also be prosperity. In other places, it says there'll be poverty. So you can start finding some money for everything. We have to be careful not to go there, even though it could be true. And I'm not denying the Medrash. In Shir HaShirim Rabbah, Parsha Beis, section 29, it says that there'll be a devil, there'll be a plague. Why am I not publicizing it and running around with it? Because I don't want it to become, you know what? The plague is happening because Mashiach is coming. That's why people are dying. We want to start justifying it. Some things are mysterious. We don't have to start explaining the Holocaust. We don't have to explain tragedies with hints in the Torah. I don't find that consoling. I find it to be somewhat childish even. Does it mean it doesn't say it? It says it. So fine, as a mature adult, we have to know that different challenges may come our way. The question has to always be asked, what are you going to do about it? And let's say you know there is a simon that says there'll be a plague before Mashiach comes. Okay, now what? How does that help us? You have to be able to say, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to become a better person because of it? How am I going to make my life and the world around me more Mashiach-dik? That question, absolutely we should be asking. That's the most important question of all. So with that, let me go now into some questions. I already spoke a bit about Mashiach last time. I'm going to try not to repeat what I said, because first of all, it's on recording and you can all watch it. If you need a link, by the way, the last classes I gave, both to the 9th and 10th grade, and the second one to 11th and 12th, are all online now. So if you need a link, just ask your teacher or whoever is organizing. I'd be happy to send you the link. So what I'm going to say, what I'm going to try to address now is some new questions, and maybe there'll be a little overlap. So question number one, we know Mashiach is so near, but how do you make it something you're excited for and something to anticipate? Well, the reason you know it's near, I would assume, is because the Rebbe said so, and you heard about it from your teachers, and your parents, and it says in the Sichos. But to make it really something to be excited and anticipate, it's not enough to just hear it from others and from the Rebbe. It's important to be able to see developments in the world that help us recognizing these are the footsteps of Mashiach. So I will share a few of those developments. Let me begin with one most important one. I know it's a little odd now in a time of a pandemic, but still, we cannot ignore the blessings in our lives. I am sure you all have thought about this. Your great-grandparents, where did they live? They were not in America, in most cases. Great-great-grandparents, 200 years ago. They probably lived somewhere in Eastern Europe, in Poland, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, Romania, Russia, Ukraine. Most likely. Some lived in other countries, Germany, Europe, Spain, in the Sephardic countries. Doesn't matter. Wherever they lived, you can rest assured they were living under difficult circumstances. All depending on the time and who the leader was, but Jews were dealing with terrible situations. We know, not even mentioning the Holocaust 80 years ago, before that, pogroms, inquisitions, expulsions. Jews were expelled from entire countries. In 1492, the entire Jewish population of Spain, the golden age of Spain, gone. So we have always been living under duress, under challenges, just like in Mitzrayim. What do we say? In every generation, they rose up to try to destroy us, and that's true. What about today? Since after World War II, which is a time where we were all born, including myself, we're all born after World War II, we have lived in freedom. We can sit here on a Zoom conference and learn Torah. Nobody's out there to arrest us. Nobody is rounding us up. We're not being attacked. I'm not saying there isn't any anti-Semitism. We know there have been acts of anti-Semitism. But on a collective level and an institutionalized level, we live in freedom. We can send our children to any school we want. We can be as religious and frum and Yiddish Shemayim as much as you want. This, the Rebbe explains, is a sign of a change in the world. Not just the tolerance, but even the respect that the world has for the Jewish people. We have not seen that in history. From the time of Esav and Yaakov, we haven't seen it. By the Rebbe, this is a sign. So when you think about it, don't take your blessings for granted. I know we were all born in this, and though my father used to tell me how 24/7 they lived in dread and in fear, because there was in Stalinist Russia, and Stalin could arrest anyone at any given time, and many of them were arrested. Like Nazi Europe. We live in peace. You go to sleep at night in peace. Now, I know this is a more time that is rattling us all, and it's a little more difficult, but still, the gifts that we have are still there. So that's one thing. Technology, the Rebbe says, is another sign. What is technology, essentially? You can sit in the comfort of your room. I sit in the comfort of my room. We can have online right now someone in Australia, in Israel, in France, in Russia, in Antarctica. And we could all sit together and learn Torah. This is a tremendous achdus. It never existed before. Technology, which is only 30 years old, 20 years old. The Rebbe had a farbrengen. It was a big chiddush that was heard by radio. You couldn't, it wasn't, or later by television. But now the internet. So we think it's just a convenience. The Rebbe says, no, the Zohar says that in the year 1840, there'll be an explosion of knowledge, Torah knowledge and technological, scientific knowledge. This is yet another sign. It transcends time and space. God forbid we didn't have technology now. We would be literally like the 14th century, quarantined and couldn't even talk to each other. When Yeshaya HaNavi says that the world will be filled with divine knowledge as the waters cover the sea. You know this pasuk. We're going to say it Achar Pesach in the Haftarah. Let me ask you a simple question. Someone asked you, how's that possible? How could the whole world be filled with divine knowledge as the waters cover the sea? The time of Yeshaya HaNavi, they had donkeys and camels. It took the mail, snail mail. It took mail to reach from one place to another, sometimes 6 months. Sometimes you didn't even know you received it. Imagine that world. How could he say the whole world will be filled with divine knowledge as the waters cover the sea? Today, it's not even a miracle. Technology. You can share a piece of knowledge right now here, and it can go everywhere. 8 billion people can hear it simultaneously, momentarily. All the divisions between time and space have been melted away. Another difference is the politics of the world. We live in a very different political era. The ability of human rights, the fact that we are free, not just as Jews, the respect for the dignity of life. I can go on, but my point is, if you want to be excited about Mashiach and anticipate, first of all, you have to see and be excited about the developments that Hashem choreographed and organized, that the world should be a better place. Now we're going through a setback. This is a challenge, the pandemic of coronavirus, but it doesn't change the progress. The other point I want to make about being excited is what I said last time about what kind of world will it look like when Mashiach comes. So I explained it's not some miraculous world. It's the same world, but a world that's healthy. Imagine a world where there's no illness, and there's no pandemics, and there's no viruses. Imagine a world where everybody's focused on one thing and one thing only, being a good human being, being a kind human being, doing a mitzvah, learning Torah, davening. In a way, we are being reminded now what really matters. All the money in the world can't save people now. Someone I know has a private plane. He says he can't even use it to go to an island. So it doesn't help. We're all in a situation where each one of us has power, tremendous individual power, and we're all the same, equally in this same boat. So we have a great opportunity, and imagine being excited about what? Being excited about the fact that we are part of the process of bringing a world that will be a really beautiful world in every possible way. Okay. So now, let's go to the next question. For how long now will people keep their emunah strong that this is bringing Mashiach when it's been 2 weeks already? Look, it could be 2 weeks, it may be 4 weeks, it may be longer. I'm not going to predict because I don't know. But I will say this. Emunah is not based on how many weeks it's going to be. It's based on, as I said before, recognizing, not just holding on, recognizing that the Eibishter runs the world and that ultimately the end story is going to be a good story. That's the bottom line. How long? We wish it's in a second, and we hope it's in a second, and we believe it'll be in a second. But it's not a matter of time. Because if you think it's like a desperate situation, I'll just hold my breath for 2 weeks, and then Mashiach comes, it doesn't work that way. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to bring Mashiach? What are we doing to improve ourselves and to improve the lives of those around us? That's the only thing we can do. And we see how every individual matters. Even the coronavirus teaches us that. Look how one person, God forbid in a negative way, can impact so many people, which is why the quarantine is so important. Let's learn the positive lesson. How one person can impact so many people in a positive way. We don't even know the impact. They say the coronavirus also, you can be asymptomatic. You could have it and not know you have it and still affect somebody else. Let's translate that into good. That means you can affect somebody even though you yourself don't even know that you're impacting them. That's how powerful each individual is. That's the way we should be thinking now. Next question. We know that the purpose of Hashem creating this world was for us to work and put effort into elevating and revealing godliness. This means the point of the Aveda in Golus is the Avedas Hashem doesn't want us to be, is the Aveda. Hashem doesn't want us to be perfect people. He wants us to struggle and work hard. If so, how can we say that the purpose of Golus is for Geula? How do we know that Hashem will decide He doesn't want Geula if His real desire for this world was so that we could work on revealing Hashem in physicality? What if Hashem doesn't want to bring Mashiach? How do we know He'll decide not to bring Mashiach? Okay. It's a very good question. And the Rebbe actually addresses this question. I can tell you where, in Likutei Sichos, volume 5, in Vayigash, the second Sicha. Because, just to explain, it says in the Mishnah, Yofa Shah Achaz B'tshuva Ma'asim Tovim Mikol Chai Elam Haba. That 1 hour of tshuva and Ma'asim Tovim, hard work, of doing tshuva and good deeds in this world is worth more than the entire world to come, which includes Mashiach. So you could ask the question, like you just asked, who says then why should Hashem want anything different? He's getting from us hard work here. So the Rebbe explains, the second part of the Mishnah says, Yofa Shah Achas Shel Kedas Ruach, 1 hour of pleasure in Elam Haba is worth more than all the pleasure in this world. How do you reconcile the two? Because the difference is between God's pleasure and our pleasure. In Elam Haba, Mashiach comes, we'll have more pleasure. But God has more pleasure in this world because it's more Aveda. So then what type of Mashiach will come? So the answer is because the same Eibishter that wants our hard work also fundamentally wants us to enjoy the fruits of our labor. So if we stay in a situation where we're only doing hard work and we never see the fruits of our labor, and we never see Mashiach coming, even God is not complete. So yes, there's a time when you have to work, when you have to sow, there's a time when you have to harvest. And Hashem also wants the harvest, because Mashiach means that all the hard work we did through Golus will bear fruit and will reveal the results of our hard work. And Hashem wants that too. So it's just two different stages. The same Hashem who wants the hard work wants also the reaping of the reward and the harvest that comes from it. So it's not just good for us. When there'll be godliness revealed in the world, when it'll be a healthy world, that's also part of what Hashem's plan is. So to say, for example, the period now that we're in, coronavirus, the age of the corona, you could say, yes, it gives God pleasure. You know why? Because we're struggling. We're in pain, we're suffering, some of us are dying, but it gives God pleasure because we're achieving something through our work. God forbid. Yes, there's hard work is important, but the same Hashem wants a healthy world, wants us to be the best we can be in a revealed way. Let me just give an example. Your parents want you to be the best you can be. They know the only way to be the best is to yugaitu matzasi, right? Yugaitu matzasi timing. Or the tzasi v'le yagaiti is not al-tamid in an abbreviated version. So they want you to work hard. But when they see that you work hard and then you reap the reward and you feel good about it, you think they say to you, no, I only want you to work hard. I only want the exertion. I don't want you to feel good. God is our Father. He's our parent. He loves us. The hard work is not because He likes hard work. It's because the only way to own what you're doing, that it becomes yours, the only way to have the deepest pleasure is when you don't receive it as a gift, but when you exerted yourself and it brought out the best in you. If you receive something as a gift, you haven't been challenged. So the challenge is not an end in itself. The challenge is in order to bring the best out of you. And once that's brought out of you, which is what Golus has done, Hashem has the greatest pleasure to bring Mashiach. And mind you, even when Mashiach comes, we'll also do work. However, then the work won't be from a challenge, a negative situation, to a positive. It'll be from a positive to a better one, from good to even better, and continuously yelchem achayil and choyel and grow in that fashion. Okay. Next question. If we still have children after Mashiach comes, how will they not be almost malachim? They won't be able to understand what it means to not do the right thing. They will never experience free choice. And what should be the point of a new neshama coming to the world if there's nothing left to fix or accomplish? Okay, this is a continuation of the theme I just addressed. And what's the point? The point is like this. First of all, very important to emphasize, we are not individuals, separate, disjointed entities all over the world. We are all part of one organism. You've heard the expression, nonas al gaba anok. We're like midgets that stand on the shoulders of giants. You and I and every person, especially every Id, we don't come alone. You come with your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents, all the way back to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, and Leah. All the way back to Adam and Chav and Gan Eden. It's one large organism. Each of us is just different players in one large story. Think of it like a narrative. A story has a lot of characters, but all the characters are part of one story. Or another example, a composition of music. Millions of musical notes, but all are necessary, and they all complement each other to create one beautiful music. So anything that our grandparents did, we get credit for. It's part of our work. It's like the marathon. They ran the first legs, and we run the next leg. So our children are the same. If our children are born now and Mashiach comes, they have all the benefits of the hard work we did, our parents and grandparents, and all the Mesiras Nefesh. They are now the leg of the journey that maybe is enjoying the rewards. So yes, it says now Yom Yom that when Mashiach comes, we'll we'll yearn for the day when we had to work hard in Golus. But that doesn't mean we want Golus. It means there's a quality in work. But our children will benefit from it, and their work will be, as I said, the Alter Rebbe explains this in Ageres HaKedah Siman Chavov at the end. He says, even when they'll no longer be good and evil, and positive and negative, will all be growing in good itself. Because remember, the Hebrew says, Ein Sof. I mentioned, I think, this example. When you love somebody, is there a destination that you could say, I love that person, I reached my max. I reached my quota. I can't love anymore. No, it's Ein Sof. It's no limit. Just like learning Torah. Is there a point where you'll say, I mastered Torah? Torah is Arucha Me'eretz Mida, Uruchove Miniyah. It's part of Ein Sof. So the journey is forever. So besides that, our children will be part of our benefits as well, because we're all part of one organism. They will have their journey. The next journey will be to go to Ein Sof, to go to new, higher levels. It's like climbing a mountain. Today we have the challenge whether we're climbing all together. We could be immersed in our material, selfish needs. We're distracted. We could be doing something that's the wrong thing to do. They won't have that challenge, but their challenge will be to climb the mountain higher and higher and higher. And we will be part of that as well. So we have to see it as a two-pronged answer. One is we're all part of one bigger picture. Everyone has its stage. And there'll be plenty of work to do when we reach that level. Trust me. You look at any sikh of the Rebbe is returned to us. You think the Rebbe is going to get us off the hook? Will let us off the hook after Mashiach comes? He won't have anything from us to do. We're not going to be just sitting around in beach chairs and lounging away and having a tequila. No. We're going to be working, but the work then will be from good to better and to even better and better. Will we fly on clouds or birds by Mashiach? Will we fly on clouds or birds by Mashiach? Okay. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, but I guess I could say this. It says in the Gemara that there's two ways that Mashiach can come. Ani v'rechev al chamer, like a pauper riding on a donkey, or arui manan ishmaya, or he would come on clouds of glory. The Rebbe explains that based on the Gemara, that we're now at a stage that Mashiach is not going to come like a pauper on a donkey, but he'll come on the clouds. And there are different midrashim that say these clouds will carry us as well. So I assume that's what you're referring to. It'll carry us to Yerushalayim, and Rosh Chodesh, and Shalosh Regalim, and so on. But in general, if you want to know how we're going to travel when Mashiach comes, I don't know if we'll be traveling only by clouds or by birds. Like Al-Kanfei Rishonim, it says that the Eibishter took the Eden out of Mitzrayim on like the wings of eagles. It's, of course, a metaphor. So I'm not sure about the flying situation. You're asking whether you'll need to have airfare, whether there'll be flights. Well, right now, everything is grounded, more or less. I would just say that we'll probably have different opportunities. And I just mentioned a few midrashim. Let's go to the next question. More importantly, I want to say this. Someone once asked me whether, it was like a cynical guy. He said to me, I hear you have a great Rebbe. Can the Rebbe fly? I remember he asked me, can the Rebbe fly? He wanted to know if the Rebbe, he was like trying to make fun. So I told him very nonchalantly, I said, listen, I never saw the Rebbe fly, but you have to remember that for the Rebbe, walking on earth was just as miraculous as flying. And I remember he was like taken by that. Miracle doesn't always have to happen. You have to fly on birds or clouds. Appreciating life, appreciating every breath we take, especially today that some people are struggling to breathe, is a miracle. Just because it happens all the time doesn't mean it isn't a miracle. It just means we got accustomed to it. As the Baal Shem Tov says, the difference between a natural event and a miracle is only one thing: frequency. If the sun were to rise once in our lifetimes, everyone would say, wow, cameras, video crews, look at this amazing miracle. But since it happens every morning, we take it for granted. Okay, next question. When Mashiach comes, our bodies will be the same. Knowing that, what is the case for Jewish people who might have been cremated or their bodies burnt in a fire? Okay, so let me first say this. The Gemara says that, the Medrash and Gemara say, it asks a question when Tchias HaMesim happens, how will the bodies return? So it says they will return the way they were in their lifetime, and then they will be healed. So for example, if God forbid, a person had an illness or a handicap or something was missing, God forbid, so they'll be born with that issue, and then it will be healed. So that means there's a certain continuity in Tchias HaMesim from our lives now. This is one of the reasons, yes, that we don't cremate and we don't do things that in any way intentionally deface a body. Look, the Nazis did it to the Jews, but that was not their choice. So you can rest assured those Jews are coming back and probably be on first in line. Because remember, the etzem luz, they say there's a bone. Some say it's behind the neck. There's different versions. The etzem luz is called. It's called one bone in the skeleton of the human body that never gets destroyed, even if you burn it. So I have no doubt that the Jews that were cremated by the Nazis, Yimach Shemon v'Zichram, they'll be the first to come back, and God already will find the body for them. For those, God forbid, that do it willingly, it's not a good thing. That's why we discourage them. But I cannot say that they will not return. It'll be harder, because now you have to find a new vehicle for them, because they intentionally destroyed that vehicle called the body. I don't want to speak negatively about anybody, because many people who do it are Tanekish and Nishbu, they don't know better. But I will say that that's exactly right. That's why it says offer atov el offer tashuv. I don't like to speak about this topic, but since the question came up, God created you. Give back your body to God as He gave it to you. Someone gave you a gift, and you decided, I'm going to improve the gift. You're going to deface, you're going to beautify it, you're going to whatever. Or you're going to burn it because you think it's good for it. It's not appropriate. Life is a gift. So we're told, you were made out of earth, return to earth. And God will already take care of the rest. Those that are Tenekesh and Ishbu, God will find ways. Wasn't their fault. They didn't know better. And of course, as I said, when it comes to the Nazis, the cremation there, I have no question. Hashem already has bodies ready for them, and they'll be the first to march in Mashiach and the Geula. Okay. In a world that blurred so many of the lines, how do we stay true to our morals without getting confused? Okay, well, the world that blurred many lines is now a very different world. I can tell you from personal experience, literally speaking to thousands of people in the last few weeks. Everybody has had a major wake-up call. Many people are asking, what are my values? What I valued 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, are worthless for me now. Money, my job, my sports, my entertainment, my theater, all the places, the public places that we gravitated to, where we congregated, are right now not in people's lives. So everyone's wondering, what's your true value system? What do you really believe in? So unfortunately, it came in a bad way, but it's a wake-up call to remind us, exactly like you're asking. Lines have been blurred. We took for granted our gifts, our blessings, and now we're wondering, what do we stand up for? Now, the good news is, I see something really unprecedented. You see people rising to the occasion. It's not perfect, but there are people volunteering. Online, I see all kinds of groups forming, Zoom groups, Fabrengens, Jews and non-Jews are doing things that to bring out the best in them. You don't see countries going to war against each other. You don't see communities going to war against each other. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. There are things some people doing that are not appropriate. But overall, many people are rethinking and revisiting their moral standards. So you stay true to your morals by never forgetting, even when this will pass, this crisis, and it will pass, never forgetting the wake-up call. My biggest concern is we go back to normal. You know what? I'm back to normal. I'm back to taking for everything for granted, back to my regular lives. We should all be back to normal in the healthy sense of the word. But it shouldn't be, it should be a new normal. It should never forget what we went through here. Never forget the importance of family, of love, of truth, of God, of spirituality, of Torah, of mitzvahs. At the end of the day, what you give to the others is far greater than what you take from them. We've become takers. We've become acquirers. I press a button on Amazon Prime, there I have it in an hour by my door. We've become narcissists. We've become takers. And you know what? We're learning that giving is far, far greater and more permanent than taking. I mentioned it before. Those of us that are busy right now giving and serving and helping and showing courage and love, you tell me their state of mind than those that are sitting depressed in their beds and saying, when is this thing going to be over? I'm terrified. This is the time when these morals come into focus like never before. We didn't ask for it, and we all prefer it wouldn't have been this way, to be very honest, but it is now this way. And ask yourself, you tell me, to go back to our so-called comforts. I want to go shopping today. No problem, go shop, but today we can't go shopping. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but its focus is on superficiality. Today we can't get away with superficiality. You got to find something inner. I hear this again and again, even from people that I've never would believe they would speak in spiritual terms. They say, you know what? You've always been right. I have students that tell me it's your inner life that matters. Your outer life comes and goes. We see how fragile it is. We see how vulnerable we are. We see how flimsy. Suddenly, everything we so depended on, literally, we were reliant, literally, on so many things. And that's gone, you know. Some people, their whole lives were, I make sure I catch the train from Nostrand Avenue or Kingston Avenue at 8:20. Can I get to my office at 9 o'clock? That was like their obsession. Now, nobody's going on train because there's nowhere to go. Now, again, I wish everything goes back to a healthy normal, but we should never forget that it's not the superficial, material, external things in life that really matter. Next question. How do you justify your actions in general? Why does one care, desire to connect, etc.? I'm not sure what your question is, but let me assume. Why does one care? I would begin with a simple answer. That's how we're wired. We were created to be caring human beings. Imagine our parents were not caring human beings. What would happen with us as children? Now, Rahman al-Islam, there are parents that are unhealthy and dysfunctional. I'm not talking about them right now. But we're naturally born to care, to nurture, to love. It doesn't come with effort. It takes effort. But to love, a healthy mother or father has to be told to stay up at night when your child may be in need. They have to be told to feed the child, to care for the child, protect the child. We're natural carers. That's how Hashem created us. That's how God created us. We need each other, and we care for each other. And even as we grow into adults, we all with love and care is part of our wiring. Unfortunately, we could also become more selfish, and I become selfish. I need what I want and need is more important than what you need. So that's what we need to work on, not to somewhat discipline and tame our selfish side and allow ourselves to really be both giving. But like Hillel said, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? So that's how I would explain it. That we have a natural desire to connect. We're naturally connected. I mentioned before, we're one organism. Chassidus explains it beautifully. If you have a little extra time, and who doesn't today, learn Tanya Perek Lamed Beis and Derech Mitzvosecha Mitzvos Avos Yisrael. They're both relatively easy to read. They're not long. They teach that Avos Yisrael is based on the fact that we're all part of one. You're not asked to love a stranger. You're asked to love someone that's part of who you are. Like we're one body. Does it make sense one arm would hit the other arm? We're all part of one body. The only problem is we don't feel it. So we need to work on feeling it. That's our natural state. Next question. How long is that learning? How long is it that learning feels real? And you feel its truth in every word, and you feel and know Hashem. How long is it that learning feels real? Look, the pasuk says, "V'yadaita hayom v'ashavesa levavecha ki Hashem hu Elokim b'shamayim mimal al ha'oretz mitachas ein eid." You shall know God, v'yadaita hayom v'ashavesa levavecha, and you shall feel God. It should become integrated, internalized in your heart. So, not sure what you're asking, but I assume is how do you hold on to that in a way that really becomes something permanent? So, I think I pointed out in one of the previous classes that there was a student that asked his teacher, "Where should I begin learning first?" And he answered, "B'mokim shel libei chafetz," where your heart desires. When you learn Torah and you enjoy it because it speaks to you, it resonates, the truths resonate, you can rest assured that that will be carrying on and something you will continue and perpetuate. If you learn Torah like mechanically, just okay, the Torah says a mitzvah to learn, I'll open up a chumash, I'll read chitas, I'll read, and it doesn't speak to you, you may do it and you may stick to it out of obligation or guilt or responsibility, but it won't be the same thing as when you enjoy something. Let's be honest, when we enjoy something, no one has to tell you to do it. When you enjoy it, you gravitate to it. So the challenge, let me rephrase the question, is how do we learn Torah? And how do we connect to Hashem? And how do we do a mitzvah in a way that we should enjoy it? That it should be something I look forward to. So here, I always go back to the key word is relevance. Relevance. Make sure it's relevant. Look, we look into Chumash now, and we read the psukim that maybe until this coronavirus crisis, people didn't necessarily see as relevant. It says, "Kashayano esam ken yirba v'chen yifritz." As they were oppressed, they flourished and they thrived. Now, I don't know, we'll call it oppression, but we're definitely challenged. The pasuk, Moshe says to the Eden, "Va'atem leiseitzu ish mepesach beisei ad boiker." And you, when there's a plague out there, the plague of the 10th plague of the Makos Pcheres, the firstborn being struck of Egypt, it says, you shall not leave your home. Don't leave Pesach Beisei, each person, from outside the door of your home until the morning, until I tell you you can. Now, that pasuk now comes alive. You say, okay, what can I learn from that? What am I supposed to do at home? How can I enrich my life? How can I eat the Korban Pesach today? Not the Korban Pesach. How do I celebrate with my family? My point is relevant. And there's a very easy way to find relevance. Always ask one question. When you learn a pasuk in Chumash, a Rashi, a pasuk in Nach, a story in Jewish history, something in a Mishnah, in a Gemara, in Chassidus, whatever it is, in Shulchan Aruch, always ask one question. Not what is it saying, what relevance does it have to me? Put it to more bluntly, more irreverently. Who cares? Why do I care? We're reading now Parshat Tzav. We're reading about all kinds of things, the Karbonis and the way they brought offerings and so on. Why do I care? What do I need to know? and ask someone, if you can't find the answer yourself, ask someone that may know. Korban? Oh, you know what a korban is? It's not just a sacrifice, a sacrificial animal that was brought on the altar in the temple. Korban means kiruv. It means a way of getting closer. We all have to offer ourselves. Today's a time we need to offer ourselves in service, in being helpful, and being volunteering, and so on. As soon as you make Torah mitzvahs personal and relevant, you become more connected to it. And now I'll do the 10th question. There was another question, and then I'll see their questions in the chats. I'll address that. What does it mean to know, understand the Maimer Sicha Tanya? Just what do you understand? Agree with it, to know it inside out. So it's really the same answer I just gave. I'll just rephrase it. There's two ways to educate somebody. I'm sure you're aware of this. One is to teach them information, data, knowledge, facts. Whatever it may be, whether it's a secular knowledge or lahavdil limudei kodesh. Facts. Many people know all the stories in Chumash. They're masters of it. They know all the characters in Jewish history. But then there's another aspect of education, which I would say is true education. The Rebbe says it's true education. You know what that is? It's not the data, the facts, the information, the knowledge. It's the methodology. It teaches you how to think, how to feel, how a healthy person solves problems. You can know all the facts in the world. They say there are people who know the price of everything but the value of nothing. You can know a lot. They say people read more and more today and they know less and less. Knowing facts, you can memorize facts. But finding its relevance, which means true knowledge, das, we say chokhmah bina. Chokhmah is conceiving ideas. Bina is knowledge. Bina is understanding ideas. Das is internalizing it. It's intimate. They give an example for it. There was once a time where people were illiterate. They say today people are illiterate too, but today illiterate people know how to read. That's the joke. But there was a time people couldn't read. So what did you do when you received a letter from your parents or anyone? You hired a reader. Someone came and would read the letter for you. You paid him. One day, God forbid, bad news comes to an individual. His father had passed away. The one reading the letter is reading the letter and is letting him know the bad news, sad news. As he's reading, and the person who's listening, the son, whose father just passed, faints. When he hears the tragic news, he faints. The guy that's reading the letters continued to read. He's oblivious. Why? Because it wasn't his father. He was reading information. He was reading a newspaper article. The person who was listening, even though he couldn't read, he didn't know how to read the language, but it was personal. It meant something to him. So the same thing in the good news is that personalizing it, that's how you're supposed to learn a Maimer and a Sicha and Tanya. What does it mean? Not just the facts. Not just there's a nefesh alekis, a nefesh habamis, an animal soul, divine soul. Tell me what it means in your life. Give me an example of your animal soul and your divine soul, and give me an example of how they battle and how one wins over the other. You learn a tzaddik beinini and a rasha. And Tanya, what does it mean to you? Show me the tzaddik in you. Show me the beini in you and the rasha in you. As soon as you ask that question, how is it relevant? You're learning methodology and approach, not just facts. Unfortunately, a lot of education, and I say it, even my own education, was we got a lot of facts, a lot of information. And when you'd ask the question, what does it teach me? How does it teach me to be a better person? How does it teach me to be more productive, to be more actualize my talents, to be more excited about life, to be more loving? That is a whole other story. So you can learn facts, but applying it is the key to everything. Okay, so I finished the questions that were presented before this session. Now, with the time allotted, and the moderator will, of course, tell me when to cut, I will go. Okay, there's a lot of chats here. Ooh, 27. Okay, so where do we begin? Should I go backwards or frontwards? To be fair, I'll go from the top down. Hi, I have a question. How do I gain a relationship or a better one with a friend or family member? Okay, very good question, especially nowadays. So again, how do I gain a relationship or a better one with a friend or family member? So being that I don't know the circumstances, I'll assume a few scenarios. There's a scenario where you already have a relationship, but it's it's plain, it's vanilla. So then how do you make that better? So it's relatively not difficult to do. Here's a time where everybody is somewhat more isolated than usual. Pick up the phone or text a friend and say, you know what? We've been friendly or we know each other. I'm just reaching out and asking you how you're doing, how you're feeling emotionally and so on. You'd be surprised. The person may respond very nicely and you open up a new conversation and then start talking about what's going on today. How can we do things, share. So really that's very basic. I assume that this question may be a situation that's not quite what I just said, where there's a strained relationship, where you don't have a relationship. It's not just making it better. So I believe as well, we're adults, behave like an adult. You could say, you know what? You call someone and say, I feel a little uncomfortable, but this is a time where I'm rethinking my priorities. I know we've had a run-in or we haven't really been close. I'm just saying hello, reach out. Bygones are bygones, and let's start something new. Don't be afraid to try something different. I think many people resist doing what I'm saying because it's uncomfortable. Why should I be the one that initiates? Let them call me. I think we shouldn't be standing on principle. On time like this especially, there's nothing wrong. Go out of your way. You'll be surprised. When you initiate something, you tell me after that call whether you're not going to feel better. Now, if the person reacts in a very negative way, that you can't control. And I'm not going to go ahead now and start figuring out how to go to therapy with that person. But in most cases, I believe people will be appreciative of a kind gesture. It doesn't even have to be profound. That's how you're doing. How's your family? And, you never know when a call like that can really be extremely helpful to that person. And I believe each one of us. It's not that complicated to do. You just need a little courage and move. Don't get stuck in your regular place. Do something different. That's what they say. You want change? Initiate change. Because if you think what you thought, you say what you said, and you do what you did, you know what you're going to have? What you had. You're going to have the same results. People, it's insanity, they say, to do the same things and expect new results. You want new results, do something new. And now is a great opportunity to do so. Next question. Every year the firstborn has to fast, but they don't fast because they go to a siyum so they can eat. But this year we can't get together to go to a siyum. How's that going to work? Are the firstborns going to fast this year, or are we Yaitse b'diavad with a siyum over Zoom? Okay. So interesting. This is coming up. I thought. Can someone mute so we can? Okay. Everybody heard the question? Just nod if you heard it, so I could see. Yes or no? Okay, fine. Okay. Well, it's interesting. I thought I'm teaching a class to Beis Rivka. I say, even if you're a Bechora, you don't listen to a siyum. So I'm not sure this is coming. Sounds like coming from a boy. But it doesn't matter. Maybe you're asking for your brother. So the answer is the Rabbanim are already giving out instructions how you can do this, how to make a siyum, even if you not have a minyan, even individually. Because the reason that you don't... Can somebody mute it? It's even if the reason a siyum absolves a fast is because it's a sudas mitzvah. When you make a siyum, the ending of a mesechta gives you simcha. So the simcha overrides the fast because it's a mitzvah to celebrate. So the Rabbanim have given already instructions. Since I'm not going to paskin here in this program, I would check with a Rav, but I've seen already online and other places the Rabbanim said you can make a siyum individually, and that way deal with the fast issue. Okay. Next question. Here's somebody answered, either make your own siyum or do it over Zoom. That's also an option, right? Next, if in the times of Mitzrayim the women had 6 babies at a time, why didn't Yocheved have 6 babies at a time? First of all, I thought you'd ask the question, how can a woman have 6 babies at a time? It's painful enough one child. Okay, but I'm not fresh on my midrashim. I would have to go look it up. But first of all, I believe it doesn't say every woman had 6 babies. I said it says it, which means it was common, but I don't know if everyone did. Second of all, how do we know? Maybe Yocheved did have 6 that we're not aware of. There's always these hidden midrashim. I honestly, to really be truthful, I was not there. I would have to look it up to be able to answer properly. But that would be my assumption, what I just said, the 2 points I just made. As far as the question with 6 babies, look, I'm sure Hashem gives teiches. It says when Mashiach comes, they'll have a baby every day. Which is also what that means exactly needs to be explained. The point is that it sounds almost impossible, but Hashem gives keiches. The same God that gives us children gives us the power to deal with it. That's answering the Etzaminian. When Mashiach comes, will those goyim? I'm by the way, just in case, I'm reading from the Zoom chat that you can see on the right. When Mashiach comes, will those goyim that passed come back to life? If not, will the Chsidu Misa'elam come back to life? Okay, so that's a good question. Chsidu Misa'elam yeshlam chelik le'elam haba. The Rambam paskins. Let me explain. Righteous Gentiles, which means people who keep the 7 mitzvahs b'neiach, which are basic laws of civilization, and according to the Rebbe, that would be most non-Jews today. So they have a chelik le'elam haba, which would suggest that yes, they first of all have a spiritual life even after this physical world, and yes, they will be here during the time of Mashiach. Tchias HaMesim is a discussion exactly, but most likely yes, and not most likely, I should say absolutely yes, because for the same reason. They lived proper moral, ethical lives. Why should they not have the benefits in the future of continuing that life? So the answer is essentially yes. That's the answer. In Mitzrayim, when Bnei Yisrael left Egypt, they had Moshe, their leader, but now we don't have our Rebbe here physically. So how will that work when Mashiach comes? Okay. So firstly, as you know, we don't have answers to all our questions. I am not going to suggest I have an answer to every question. I know this, that there's a big God in heaven, a big God on earth. There's a big God that runs the world, and he'll figure it out. It is he who's the one that created this universe. He's God that is the one that told us Mashiach is going to come. And I'm sure that they'll figure it out. I don't know exactly how. I have no doubt that he will find the Mashiach the right way and will give us the right signs, and we'll be able to march out. I can't answer exactly how, but I can answer, I know for sure it will happen. That's the short answer. Can you put on silent, mute? Next question. Let me scroll down. Is it correct that someone's success gets its push from others' failures? 1 second. Who said that? No, I don't think it's correct at all. There was once in Kotsk, we all heard of the Kotsk Rebbe. So a man came to the Kotsk Rebbe and told him, I have a business. Now someone opened up another business in Kotsk, in the city. And the Kotsk Rebbe said, so good, let him succeed. He says, no, it's going to be competition. His success will make me a failure because we can't compete. He's going to compete with me. So the Kotsk Rebbe, in his classic sharp fashion, said to this man, he said, you have a horse? Yeah, he says, you take your horse to the water, to a lake to drink. You ever see what happens when the horse comes to the water? He says, yeah, what happens? He says, the horse begins to get all agitated and starts kicking before it begins to drink water in the lake. He says, why? Why is it getting agitated? It has the water right in front of it. So the Kotsk Rebbe smiled and said, I'll tell you why. The horse looks into the water and suddenly sees another horse. He doesn't realize it's a reflection of himself. And he gets agitated because he thinks another horse is coming to drink his water. It's competing with him. What happens? After a while, the horse realizes there's enough water for both horses. That's what the Kotsk answered. The Eibishter gives parnasa. So why should one person's success cause someone else's failure? Chas v'shalom. There are people in the world that behave that way. And they feel they have to put other people down for them to go up. But like the Rebbe Rashab once said, it was a game I think the Rebbe Rashab and the Razo were playing. and they were playing who's going to be higher. One was in a pit, one was on the ground, and he kept pushing the other one down. I think the Rebbe Marash said to him, why do you have to push him down when you can lift yourself up? We don't have to put someone else down for us to succeed. You don't have to be wrong for me to be right. So the premise I don't agree with, especially from a Torah point of view. The Eibishter gives parnasa. You can be successful. I'm successful. Your success can help my success, and so on. Okay. Next question. Just because we can practice our religion in peace doesn't mean we're respected. People still hate us. Okay, that's, I guess, response to my question about our time. There are individuals that may hate, and it may be out of ignorance or hatred. I did not deny that. We all know, God forbid, what happened last year in Poway, in Pittsburgh, and other places. Jews were shot, innocent Jews, innocent blood was shed and killed. I'm not suggesting there isn't hate. But if you want to compare the world today to what it once was, you can't even compare. You can prosecute someone that shows hatred to you. I'm not talking about individuals. Collectively, institutionally, how they put us all into slavery. That today does not exist. Are there individuals that hate? That's fine. I'm not saying Mashiach is not here yet. I'm saying not fine. I shouldn't say it's fine. So that's my answer. You have to look at the collective story. And I say, just read your history. Just find out what your great-great-grandfather was up against a century or two back. Okay. I feel like you're justifying our situation by saying that. No, chaz v'sholem. I'm not justifying anything. I said it 100 times, I think, on this call or in the previous classes. There's no justification. We all want Hashem to make us healthy, keep us healthy, and not have all these challenges. We all would have preferred life as it was a month or 2 months ago. But that's not the way it is. It's not in our control. Well, we're discussing what do you do when you're in this situation. Now, to sit and complain about it, be frustrated, and just say it's terrible, 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 is not going to get anywhere. I'm not suggesting there aren't challenges. Of course there are. But how do adults behave? We rise to the occasion, and we're going to be the best possible people. That's the point I'm making. If I have to emphasize it again, I do. We're not justifying anything. We don't justify the Holocaust. We don't justify even one death of a person, let alone more than one. So this is not, we're praying for people right now, as I mentioned at the outset, for Shlema. So we're not denying that. But we're here right now. After we say the Tehillim, we have to become better, greater people. Do whatever we can to be Mashiach. And you saw what I said, not looking for signs in the coronavirus for Mashiach. Even though there may be, but we're not looking for that. That's not the approach. We're not looking to justify it. Precisely. Yes, like in the past year, we had many attacks on shuls, on schools, like in California with Rabbi Goldstein, very anti-Semitic. Okay, that's referring to the question I already addressed that. We know Hashem created us to make a dir b'tachtenim. If he wanted it, why couldn't he just do it? Why create us? Twofold answer. For number one, we know the expression is Nesava HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The first half of that statement is God desired. The Alter Rebbe was asked, why does it say Nesava? He says, because of Hatayve and Shtok in Kasha. When someone desires, which is just a euphemism, it's just an expression we use on God, desire is beyond the rational. So we don't have an answer. That's what God desired. That's number one. Number two, God wanted us as partners. What's the point? Each should do it himself? There's no point. It doesn't make sense in our logical world. Now, again, God is not bound to our logic, but I'm giving now an explanation based on logic. And that explanation is that God wanted to give us a gift. The gift is to be partners with us. Gave us resources, gave us strength, and is teaching us, you can be a partner with me. You know what kind of gift that is? That a mortal, finite, limited human being can become one in partnership, in marriage with God to transform this world. It is the most tremendous gift that you can give a human being, to be divine, to be heavenly, be partnership with God. That's the short answer. You want more, you're going to have to learn a little more chassidus, but I gave you the short answer. So by the Holocaust, was there a pile of those bones, or is this not literal? I'd rather not talk about these morbid things, but since you're asking. I wasn't there. I've seen the pictures, the videos. There was a pile of bones because they couldn't, first of all, cremate everyone. By the time the camps were liberated, tragically or not tragic, however you want to look at it, they didn't have a chance to cremate. Why did they want to cremate? Because they didn't want to leave bones. They didn't want to leave anything except ash. Not that they could ever really destroy the Jewish spirit, but that's what they thought they could do. So yes, it's a horrific scenes of bones. And I don't want to get into how many bones there were and how many were cremated. It doesn't matter. Regardless, these Jews are Kadeshim of the highest level, sacred human beings who only God can answer for what was allowed there. None of us. They are holy people, no matter who they were. And yes, they didn't even have the dignity of having a gravesite. They didn't have the dignity of being buried. They have no dignity to even know where they are. And some of them, even their bodies were taken from them. But Hashem, His greatness, will do whatever it does. As I said, they will be marching first. So I'm not concerned. God will protect. We've gone through that horrible situation. Thank God. I don't even want to compare. In our own way, we have to deal with our challenge and grow from that. Okay, next one writes, yes, a Holocaust survivor said in the camps, he saw the bone and it made him stay frum. Meaning that that's some loose. Okay. Once Mashiach comes, what's our goal going to be? Because now it's to bring Mashiach. I answered this question earlier. It will be once, remember, Mashiach's coming is a end of a process of all the years in Golus and before that led to it. So it's all one thing. Mashiach's coming isn't just we're going to, as I said, the beach and we're getting our reward, we're getting our prize. No. Mashiach's coming and all the work we did go hand in hand. It's one narrative. It's one law, big story. Mashiach is closer to the end of the story. And then when Mashiach comes, there'll be plenty of growth, plenty of things to work on. Instead of having to fight viruses, having to fight disease, having to fight the negative, we'll be growing from good to better, Ein Sof, without limit. Okay, to reach a new level in Aveda, someone writes, correct? I said, Ager Shekedesh Simon Chof, he says, to be miyachid, higher levels of Yechudim, higher levels of unity and love and so on. But we'll all be perfect, serving Hashem perfectly, the way Hashem wants. I'm just reading your comments. We will always have what to reach higher to Hashem is endless with infinite facets. Well said. Okay. The same way a tzaddik has an Aveda now, we'll have an Aveda the times of Gula. That's a good example. And if we can't find relevance, we should stop learning? No, I didn't say that. I said if you really want your learning to be perpetuate and to be sustainable, to be excited, relevance will help. If you can't find relevance, there's always Kabbalah sale you can fall back on. Meaning you do it as a mitzvah. Nasa v'nishma. But remember, after Nasa comes Nishma. I was making suggestions how to internalize. Well, Chassidus asks of us, not just do it mechanically. You tell me. You don't have to nod. How many of you do mitzvahs anoshim ilumada? You know what that means? Mechanical mitzvahs. You do it because you were trained to do it. You don't even think about it. Your parents taught you. Your schools taught you. It became habit. You know, mitzvahs anoshim ilumada, mechanical mitzvahs, God does not like. That's like being an automatic pilot. Like someone saying to you, someone doing a favor for you, and you just say thank you. You're not even thinking about it. Without your heart. The Eibishter wants Rachmana Liba Boy. He wants our heart. He wants our passion. So yes, but nothing, and all else fails. Fine, at least you're doing it mechanically, automatic pilot. But if you want it to be real, pnimiyazdik, sustainable, you need the relevance, the passion, the personal application. Okay. No, good. Okay, do you agree? No, you just have to look deeper into Torah. If you haven't found it yet, maybe you weren't looking well enough. Okay. Question from a girl. How can you find relevance in learning about the four worlds, the spheres? It feels so distant. Okay, it's a good question. Let me answer it. I see there's plenty more. We'll do the best we can. Okay. I've talked about this a number of times. I don't know if any of you follow my program called My Life Chassidus Applied, but I've discussed it there a few times. and in other classes, which you can find easily at chassidusapplied.com, as well as meaningfullife.com. And I'm not pushing you off there. I will give you a brief answer. Let me just answer about the four worlds. The four worlds, unfortunately, was taught to us in ways that are very abstract, as I said before, like facts, data. Okay, four worlds. You probably all know what they are. Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, Asiya, right? Okay, fine. You get 100 on your test if you answer that question right. That's not understanding Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, Asiya. First of all, someone will say four worlds. 1 second. I know there are 9 planets or 8 planets. Mercury, Mars, Earth, Venus, Earth. You have Mars, you have Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and now Pluto, whether it is or it isn't. Are you impressed? I know the planets. So where are the four worlds exactly? Which one's Atzilus? Which one's Bri? Which one's Yitzir? You say 4 worlds. Are there 4 planets? So clearly we're talking about 4 spiritual worlds. And let's not use the word world, let's use the word dimensions. 4 stages in development. And I'll give you a simple way to understand it. Any creation of anything, if you're going to write a book, you're going to write an essay, you're going to write a paper, you're going to build a building, you're going to compose music, you're going to create a piece of art. It always goes through 4 stages. 4 stages. Stage number 1. It begins with a vision. The artist, the composer, the author, the architect has a vision. A vision of what they want this to look like. That's Atzilus, the vision, the unified vision. The next step is they create an outline. You ever hear of an outline? That's Bria. What's an outline? In architecture, it's like a blueprint, or it could be the outline of the skeleton of the structure. In art, it's just etching the boundaries, the basic structure. In writing a book or an essay, it's outline that you make a structure, an outline of chapter headings, subheadings, etc. Then comes Yitzira, step 3. Yitzira is shaping it, fleshing out the outline, fleshing out the details. In the structure is the details in the art, in the book, in the music. Everything is now becoming more detailed. And finally, step 4 is Asiya, the full finished product, full dimensional product. You go anywhere on a construction site and you can see the stages. How it begins with a basic vision. You see a general structure, like a skeleton. Then you see the details start emerging until there's the final building ready to move in. So Hashem made this, the process, the 4-step process we all use. Hashem created this process by subjecting himself and choosing to create the universe in this fashion. So Atzilus is God's vision of the world. Bria is God's outline of the world. Yitzir is God's detailed structure. All the fleshing out the tzura, shape and form. And Asiya is God's finished product. That's one way to explain it. And whenever we want to really connect to something, you always want to go to the vision. Like Pesach is coming. You could celebrate Pesach on the Asiya level. That's just doing it. You could, on the Yitzira level, which is also understanding its shape and form. You could do it on the Bria level, its general structure. You could do it on the Atzilus level, which is the vision of Pesach to teach us how to be free human beings. Everything in life, whether it's Chesed, Gvura, Teferes, is a Chesed of Atzilus, Chesed of Bria, Chesed of Yitzira, Chesed of Asiya. Vision level, outline level, detailed level, and final product. That's one way to explain this. Okay. Next question. If we make statements like, it depends on our attitude, everything can be fine. If you have a munah, how can we use words like oppression? Where's the line between what we can change with our mindset and what is actual suffering? So first of all, the Torah tells us what actual suffering is. Even, God forbid, a person passes away, you're supposed to sit shiva. Someone will say, you know what, I believe that the neshama lives on and God is taking care of everything. So why do I have to sit shiva? No, because this is a true loss. Death is a sad thing. At the same time, after shiva, someone says, I want to sit 14 days shiva, 21 days, 5 months. No. The Torah tells us what's healthy grief and what's unhealthy grief, where it becomes indulgent. So there are objective things called oppression. The Torah never minces words when it says something is positive and something is negative. The path of Chaim, the path of Hepach HaChaim. B'charta b'chaim, you shall choose the path of life. At the same time, we know that even a negative also has with it deeper good. Even death itself, even hepach hachaim, can and will lead. So this does not mean we don't see the pain. No one will ever say the Holocaust was a good thing. God forbid. It was horrible. No one will say the death of a human being is a good thing. Never. But can we grow from it? That's another story. Can there be something something greater that comes out of it? Absolutely. Now, to make the distinction, you need to look at data. You need to look at human nature. You need to look at how God created us. God made us cry when we experience a loss. That's not our weakness. A human being cries. The Rebbe cried. Tzaddikim cry. The Eibishter cries. So the concept of sad things is nothing to be afraid of. The question is, what happens? And yes, our attitude makes a tremendous difference. How we grow from it. It doesn't take away from the loss. You never tell somebody who experienced a loss, no problem, it's great. I'm so glad for you that you experienced a loss because now you're going to become a great person. That's besides it's insanity. It's insensitive. It's wrong. It's false. So you cry when you have to cry, and then you grow when you have to grow. Okay. Every year, the firstborn has to fast. Oh, this one was asked already. Okay. How do we grow in self-love and acceptance when you've gone through things that maybe made you feel not worthy? Good question. It's important to make a distinction. This is a very important psychological insight. It's important to make a distinction between things that have happened to us and who you are. Very often when we've been invalidated, somebody called you stupid or ugly or fat or some other negative term, very often we personalize it and we think, you know what, maybe I am that way. It's a big mistake. Things happen to us doesn't mean that's who you are. We Jews suffered a lot through history, as we've been talking. But we have not become sufferers. We suffered, but don't make me, I'm not a sufferer. I suffered. That's not my identity. You want my identity? Look at how I love. Look at how I teach. Look at the standards of my living, of my values, and so on. So it's critical, and it's not easy, especially when we're children and you're invalidated or criticized. You often start taking it personally, say something's wrong with me. I know people who tell me, I don't like myself. My parents didn't like me. I don't like myself. They criticize me. I can't trust myself. So the work that has to be done, and sometimes it needs work, I'm not suggesting it's easy, is to separate and say, it happened to me, it's not me. My parents said it, that doesn't mean I'm that way. An adult said it. So it's critical to make that distinction and come to realize that God created you. And because God created you, that's the best reason to love yourself. Because God doesn't create garbage. I have a line in my book, Toward a Meaningful Life, that's become very popular. Birth is God saying, you matter. You are valuable because God put you. It makes no difference what anyone in the world says. Now, let's be honest. We are affected by people. When people criticize us, they insult us, especially in front of others, it does not feel good. It doesn't make us feel good. So I'm not denying that it affects us. But our work is to separate and say, you know what? That's what that person said, but Hashem put me here. Hashem gave me a vote of confidence. That should give me that type of self-love. This is something we can work on. I always encourage people to use Moda'ani in this context every morning. Thank you for returning my soul to me. Thank you, God, for giving me my soul. And then we say, Neshama shenesata bi tahirihi. My soul is pure. It's beautiful. Thank you for giving me another day of life. Thank you for having confidence in me, for renewing my contract, for trusting me. One of the meanings of B'cham l'Rabba Amun Asecha. These are counter forces, counter meditation, so to speak, all the negatives that people tell us. Second thing I want to say is surround yourself with people that reinforce you and don't criticize you. There are always people, you call them up and say, hey, I have a great idea. And they throw cold water on you. Don't get excited. I've been there. You know, they're just cynical. Now, I'm not telling you what to do with those friends, But I would encourage you to add a few new friends that every time you call them with exciting idea, they say, wow, great. How can I help? I encourage you. You know you can do it. I'm your fan. Go for it. But that's also validating our essential self-worth. Okay, next. The moderator, you'll tell me when to stop, right? How is thinking Hashem is with me comforting at a time when someone is scared? Because if Hashem has a plan and everything that happens is for the good, Hashem can make something happen. It may not seem good in our eyes, but it's good in Hashem's eyes. Yes, this is the classic question on Trach gut wird sein gut. To think good, it will be good. So the Rebbe explains that it's not just a nice, cute line. It actually changes things. I'll just give an example. God forbid 2 people are in the hospital. Nobody should be in any hospital. And anyone there should have a refuah shleima. One person, again, today this may not work, but let's say one person has guests. It's phone calls, gifts. The other person is lying alone in a bed, no one coming to visit. I don't mean these days. These days, everything is different. No one calling, no one caring. You tell me, both of them are suffering from the same issue. Will there be a difference? The answer is absolutely yes. The first one will have a stronger will to live, which in turn will affect psychosomatically their body to develop more chemicals, more adrenaline, more willpower that will drive them to fight. The other person, unfortunately, will become demoralized, will become frustrated, will become depressed. That cannot help fight illnesses. Alter Rebbe in Perek Chavav brilliantly puts it this way, that depression is worse than the problem because it makes you feel like you can't do it. Like fighting, it's like 2 people who are wrestling. You may be more, the one that's stronger is, however, has no confidence. So he's not going to be able to fight because he doesn't believe in himself. So the idea that having a God in your life that protects and watches and Trach gut wird sein gut actually strengthens us. Now, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out the way we want it. That doesn't mean it's not good. It means we don't see the good. But that connection can only serve you well. And people who've gone through serious losses and didn't get it always the way they wanted. Do you remember the story with Mrs. Waxman in Israel a number of years ago? Her son was a soldier, was kidnapped by the Palestinians. Israel, of course, does not negotiate with kidnappers and terrorists. So they were looking, they finally found out where he was. The whole country was praying with Mrs. Waxman at the Kaisel, Tehillim, and so on. The whole country was aroused to help her, was awakened. Unfortunately, the IDF, Israeli army, broke into the place, but they shot him a second earlier. He was killed. So one of the cynical, skeptical, callous, I can't even see how anyone can do that, asked Mrs. Waxman, so what happened to your prayers? You prayed to God. What happened to your God, to your prayers? And she calmly responded, lost her son just a little while earlier. I prayed to Hashem, as did the whole country. You know something? God listened to our prayers. And he heard our prayers. And you know what he did? He answered no. He answered me. He answered no. And I accept that. Now, she didn't say it some type of cute faith line. It was coming from the anguish. She was crying. She lost her son. So a woman like that, unbelievable strength. And this didn't work out the way she wanted. Hashem said no. Which doesn't mean that I will not see my son again. It doesn't mean it's not good. Somewhere they'll be good, but right now it's not the good I wanted. These type of deep expressions of faith and trust are sometimes hard to understand because they're not rational, but they're not irrational. They're not immature. These are people with profound strength within them that say, it may not work out the way I want. It may be that even there, I may experience a loss, but you know what? I never lose my faith in God and in goodness. I am not going to become a victim just because it didn't work out. I will be strong. And like the Jews said to the Nazis in their hearts, you can take our bodies, but you can't take our souls. You can take our lives, but you can't take our faith. And if it won't be us, it'll be our children. If it won't be our children, it'll be our grandchildren. I want to just add one more thing. I mentioned over the story with Parei, and the women were the ones in Meiser Nefesh that said, we'll have children. Whereas the men were questioning. What did Parei not see? You know what he didn't see? He thought the weapons The strength of the Jewish people are what? You know what he thought they were? Men, strong, brute strength, the men are the soldiers. Women and children could be subdued. Weapons, tanks. Hey, there were no tanks then. Swords, whatever the ammunition, whatever the weapons were. His mistake was the power of Jews is not in their armies. It's not in their warriors. It's not in brute strength. It's in faith. And the women had faith. And you know what? You cannot beat faith with an army. The women's amunah withstood everything. That's why B'schus Nashim Sitkonyas Nigul Avasenim Mitzrayim. Because you can't put down faith. How do you fight faith? You can't shoot it. You can't kill it. You can kill the body. You can't kill the faith. And the women's faith has had the children. Moshe was born, and we came out of Mitzrayim, which we'll be celebrating. And the same thing will be now. Deep faith. Don't ever underestimate. It's a resource. It's not an escapism. It's not desperate crutch looking for faith. It's after you've done everything rationally, after you've done everything logically, there's another door called faith. It's super rational. It's beyond after you went to a doctor and after you prayed and after everything is the faith and the trust of Trakud V'Zayngut. It's beyond rational. It's an extra resource that actually separates between people who thrive and people who just suffer. Okay, next.
Rabbi Jacob, so we have time for one more question.
Okay, we should now. I did.
Yeah, we have time for one more question.
Okay, one more question. Should I go to the end or should I just do the next one in order? You know what? We could always do them later. By Mashiach, is there going to be such a thing as passing away? If not, people would live forever. The answer is there's two tkufas, there's two stages. In the beginning stage, Mashiach's times will be similar to now. There'll be illness, there'll be death. But then there'll be a stage where there will be no longer death. You can look in the Geras HaKedah Simcha Chavov, and the Alter Rebbe talks about that a little more in detail. Okay, so I just want to read this own wrote. I heard that the women from Shevet Levi didn't have 6 babies at a time. That would explain Yocheved. Okay, so based on what I was just told, let us sign off here. I'll just add one final line, which I just finished saying. I want to say this. You women have additional strength Hashem gave you, whatever the reason is, especially in time like this, that amunah and betochen, to know that through history, that is what gave us that extra edge. That's why we're here today. Imagine the women listened to the men, and they wouldn't have children. Moshe would not have been born. The next generation would have been completely compromised. Maybe never left Mitzrayim, Rachmana litzlan. So now is a time to dig deeper, know that Hashem's promises will be fulfilled. The reason, whatever reason, God has his mysterious reasons, this wake-up call. It doesn't change the game plan. It just means we have to navigate a little differently. Hashem should bless you all, to have the strength, you and your families, first of all, to be completely healthy, physically, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually. And anyone in family members that need out of force, Shlema V'Kreva, should have a complete recovery and a complete and speedy one. Maybe should bench Klal Yisrael, they should and heal all Chayil Yisrael, anyone, anywhere, and even the entire world, everybody. Everybody in the world deserves a blessing. I say even, I meant to say, just in case someone thinks, everybody deserves to live and to be healthy, should get through this and become stronger than ever. I have a question of Freilich and Pesach. This Pesach is going to be different than ever before, that I can tell you. So it's our opportunity here to make it extra special. Not extra in any other way, extra special, finding creative ways to make the Seder relevant. I'll just tell you a little breaking news. I'm going to record 15 steps. I'm calling it the Passover in the age of Corona. 15 steps to personal freedom in these challenging times, to show how the 15 steps of the Seder, will be with Nigunim and everything, of the Seder can be used as actually tools to strengthen us in these times, in these unique times. So again, everyone should be gebenched only with the good health and begashmis and beruchnis, and get through this and become stronger, be better people, greater people, make the Rebbe proud, make your families and Klal Yisrael proud, make the entire world proud. And we should march. We've been discussing so at length. He made seis chameres mitzrayim aren in the floss. Just like when we left Egypt, we shall see miracles. The miracle of b'nissen nigalu, b'nissen asidin nigal. In Nissen we were redeemed, and this Nissen right now, redeemed with the Gula, Amitis, Vashlema, and you women leading the way. Take you from Yad Mamish. Thank you so much.
This program is brought to you by My Life, Chassidus Applied. Please help us continue our programs. Make even a small contribution at chasidisapply.com/donate.